What is armor and piercing in Hearts of Iron 4? These are two combat stats that greatly change how units perform in battle. Piercing is weighted against armor. If the piercing value of your division is higher than your opponent's armor, your opponent will be considered pierced, and vice versa. If one of the divisions is not pierced, modifiers will be applied. When defending, if your division is not pierced by the enemy, you will lose 50% less org and take 50% less HP damage. When attacking, if your division is not pierced, your attacks will reduce the enemy's organization by an additional 50%. So how do divisions get their armor and piercing value? First, mechanized and armored cars have armor, but by far the type with the most is tanks. All of these equipment types can be upgraded. If you don't have the No Step Back DLC, your tanks come in standardized models, and can be upgraded similarly to mechanized and armor. If you do have the DLC, you will have access to the tank designer. Piercing, on the other hand, comes from a number of sources. Infantry equipment has a little bit of piercing, but this value is quite small, especially in the early game. Artillery also provides a little bit of piercing, but it's not enough to use it solely for that value. The cheapest method of adding a lot of piercing to a division is with anti-tank guns. Anti-air also provides piercing, and can be an alternative to anti-tank. If you're a minor nation, it may be worth rushing 1940 AA to get both the 60 piercing value and air attack with one equipment. But once again, the best values come from tanks, either with the armaments, with the DLC, or with the tank destroyer models in the base game. So how is piercing and armor calculated in divisions? It's not simply an average of all your support companies and battalions. For armor, the calculation is 30% of your highest armor value, plus the average of all battalions. For piercing, this calculation is 40% of your highest piercing value, plus an average of all your battalions. Also keep in mind that as you lose HP, you lose equipment, and when you lose equipment, you lose stats. This includes your armor and piercing values. So it's important to use fully equipped units. Okay, what kind of template should you make to fight the AI? Well, a tank division with 20 piercing and 20 armor will be good against any infantry division the AI will produce throughout the game. For fighting against tanks, it's a little bit more complicated. To give you an idea of what the AI builds for tank divisions, I ran the game on observer mode a few times and recorded the values of the tank divisions the AI produced. This is a rounded average of a few runs. The AI doesn't tend to build the best tank divisions in the early game. For example, the armor value of 33 from Germany is terrible. If you were to add a single 1936 anti-tank support company to your infantry, you would have about 50 piercing and would pierce this tank. It isn't until about 1943 that these tanks even have somewhat decent stats, and the highest value is in the 80s. So you don't need to go overboard and aim for super high stats. A value of 100 will absolutely outclass anything the AI will make. Just to recap, when defending, if you can't be pierced, you will take 50% less damage to org and HP. And when attacking, if you can pierce, you will do 50% more org damage. The modifiers from piercing and armor are one of the primary reasons for why tank divisions are so powerful in Hearts of Iron 4. The other main reason is its hardness value, which I will cover in the next video.